Investing is simple, but not necessarily easy. And believe it or not, the technical part of investing, such as picking stocks and building a diversified portfolio, is actually the easy part. But being able to manage the psychological aspects of investing, such as managing your emotions, being patient, and staying disciplined to your plan, is what makes for a truly great investor.
All right, everybody, welcome back for another one. And I wanted to do a little bit of a different video today, once again, kind of revisiting some of my old videos. I realize it's been about a year now since I started posting on YouTube from time to time. Just so you guys know, the reason that I originally started doing it was not so I could grow my channel to 200,000 subs or 500,000 or 50,000, whatever. If that happens, so be it. I'll be happy. But I just started trying to share my story. I wanted to share my story with new people in preparation for the bull run of 2021. Right? So that's why I started last year. I knew it was coming, and even if I only had 5 friends watching and I made a difference in their lives, that was my goal. All right. So I started posting with the intention of being essentially the coach I didn't have of 2017, because I went through 13 and 17 with basically no knowledge of markets. I was just trying to learn, having some fun along the way, experiencing some losses along the way, some gains along the way. And so I figured it was good to revisit one of the first videos I made with you guys. So I wanted to share this with you again, because I realize a lot of people on my channel, probably most of you at this point, have not watched this video. So I'm going to re-share it with you guys. Just keep in mind that before watching the video, like I said, my idea was to coach new people. I don't make my channel for guys that have been trading for 20 years, 5 years, 2 years, 3, whatever. It's for people that are new to this market, and I want to be the voice that I didn't have, essentially. So just know that ultimately my main goal for people, I'm going to use XRP as an example, but you can do any crypto. I'm trying to help people capture the bulk of one of these things. That's it. All right. Buying low on the bottom. That's what I started doing in 2020. Get your portfolio as much as you can, or whatever crypto you want, and we're going to try and get the bulk of this return. All right. I'm trying to capture the main trend. One big main swing. All right. Capture the main trend, identify the top, get out, find the new asset class. Or maybe we're going to start shorting on the way down, buying some put options. I have all of this planned, but we're not there yet. All right. There's plenty of ways I'm going to make money on the way down if and when it happens. But for now, for me, it's riding the wave. All right. So let's go ahead and jump into the video. As you can see, the quality of my channel has improved just slightly since then. So bear with me. All right. Thanks.
Today, I actually have an interesting video for you. I think, I was working on putting this together for a while, or at least thinking about it for a while. And what I really want to share with you today is my Bitcoin timeline. Basically, how everything started for me, what I did along the way, what lessons I learned, how to benefit from it, and, kind of how to use that going into the future. So just kind of jumping into the beginning right away. So I first found out about Bitcoin in 2013, essentially. I knew about it back whenever it was about $100 down to $50 through the summer of 2013. Just was kind of learning about it, still trying to, figure out, where it fits in, if there's any value there and everything. And I really started to realize, what potential it might have in the future. On a global scale, how it's going to affect the world, and as well as an investment, starting to learn about the scarcity, everything that goes into it. When you start learning about the scarcity and everything, I started to realize, as far as currency market cap size, the size of currency, the dollar, for instance, is, like 14 or so trillion before all of this printing. So I was thinking, hey, if Bitcoin can ever capture some kind of global currency level, kind of market cap, which would be in that 14 trillion area, probably bigger if it's, one global currency, then it's going to be worth a lot more, 500,000, a million, 10 million, somewhere in that ballpark is where we start looking when we get into the trillions. Obviously this first little run in 2013 is when I really got interested. I started buying, I was one of the people that bought into the hype, bought, this first little bubble that I was part of. I bought all the way up. I started mining, and I was actually in the Marine Corps at the time, so I was living in the barracks, and my roommate and I ordered a little mining rig. I forget which one we had at the time. Maybe, I think it was like Butterfly brand or something like that. I don't know, but yeah, we started mining in our barracks room because we're like, hey, electricity is free here, so why not? Let's get something. And I think over that period of time, we mined probably about 3 or 4 Bitcoin in just a 1 or 2 month period of time. But then quickly we learned that mining your rigs become obsolete. We were mining very quickly when we first got it, and then within a month or two we realized it was hardly producing anything for us compared to what it was doing. And at this time, it felt surreal, like, oh man, I really found out something important here. Like, I'm the smart guy, I'm getting wealthy. I figured this thing out. But throughout this bear market, all of that kind of went away. At first I had optimism through here. February, March, April timeframe, I was still buying. I kept buying. I pretty much bought the whole way down, as I indicated here. But the panic set in, as it started to drop. I really experienced all the different emotions of basically a bubble, essentially. And I still remember to this day, I panic sold, right? I sold the absolute bottom. I was just watching the floor fall off. I was like, this is going to zero. I'm definitely not going to make any money. And I sold out of fear. But then, I'm not one to quit easily. So that kind of just set in for me, and I was like, you know what? Fuck that. I'm buying back in. So I bought more than what I had. So I did sell. I probably took a little loss because, of course, when you sell on the bottom, the price jumps. But, I just bought more. I was like, you know what? I'm in this for the long run. I believe in the technology long term. So I bought more, and I jumped back in. And, from then, I just kind of ignored it for a while. I watched it, but just like, okay, it's not really doing anything. Traded sideways for almost an entire year and a little bit up and downs. I really stopped paying attention, as I indicate right here. I was just kind of like, whatever, we'll see what happens. Obviously I'm still telling everyone about how cool this stuff is, explaining to people how I think this is going to work. And obviously everyone's like, oh, you're a fool, man. That's just magic internet money. This guy's crazy, whatever. And then later on, I remember still towards the election time frame, in October area, somewhere around here, I realized that, this was starting to bounce back. I was like, this is gaining some momentum again. And I started noticing basic TA, like as far as, how these hype cycles, it goes up, it goes down, like, okay, on the rebound, it's starting to come back. I was seeing how it just basically repeats itself over and over. So I started doing the math at this time even. And I was like, oh man, if this actually does again like the same, percentage growth, or at least in that ballpark, I think that Bitcoin could get up to 10K. So at the time, right around here, early January, February, I was actually in college in the Investors Club, and I was telling everyone, this thing is going to go, Bitcoin's going to go to 10K. And they're all like, laughing at you. This guy's a fool. Everyone's chasing Tesla stock at that time. I remember that was the cool thing to be buying. Everyone's like, oh yeah, Tesla stock, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, always the fool. I ended up nailing that actually, with it blasting over to 20K. Hey, 10K ended up being short of what I estimated. And then, eventually people were asking me, oh yeah, how'd you, what'd you do, this and that? And I would just always tell people, hey, look, it's all in the charts. So what I was doing back then, very simple TA. I didn't even know what TA was really. I was just looking at the chart. But I saw, hey, look, this thing, you know, previous to this, it had went up almost like a, 10x. I forget how bad it was, but really simple TA. I was like, okay, so it went from 120 to 1200. I was like, okay, that's about a 10x. So I was thinking, hey, if we go another 1200 up 10x again, I think we're gonna end up somewhere in the 10k area, and that's pretty much what ended up happening, as we know. Went a little higher, but obviously it was hard to catch the top there. But yeah, as I started going through this whole cycle, I still remember in March of 2017 was when I really discovered Ethereum and altcoins. Before that, I was always, a Bitcoin maximalist just because I wasn't educated. So my resort was always to, tell people, oh, and all the other ones are shit coins. They have no value. Don't worry about them. I wish at this time I was, all throughout 2015, 16, I was learning about Ethereum, because I'm sure if I knew what I know now, I would have put a lot more money to the Ethereum at like, it was at like $7 in late 2016, 50 cents back here in 2015. So I had enough in Bitcoin I could have allocated over there to Ethereum. I just, I never did. I got a little once I started learning about the Ethereum Enterprise Alliance. Then that's whenever it really dawned on me, hey, look, this is a big deal. I need to start learning about it. So I started learning about smart contracts, how all that works, and really kind of Ethereum had expanded on the idea of Bitcoin and decentralized networks using blockchain, but adding on the smart contract layer. So, and by doing that, obviously they were able to, they basically started the whole ICO hype and bull run of 2017. A lot of that can be equated to what Ethereum did. So who knows what would have happened to Bitcoin without Ethereum. But hey, we all know how 2017 went, and that was a lot of hype caused by the ICO craze. But just throughout this year, basically I started the year 2017. I knew nothing about the whole market. All I knew about was Bitcoin and how I've used it, and kind of how I envisioned it in the future of the world. I kind of was thinking it more of a like replacing the gold standard. I actually did a presentation on it in college in my public speaking class. I did. Just my idea back then was that, maybe eventually we could see a return to the gold standard, which I still think is coming. But at the time I was thinking, why do we need gold? Why wouldn't we build it on like a Bitcoin instead, and Bitcoin be that underlying asset? Because, part of the main reason we came off of the gold standard was lack of trust. Countries are like, hey, we started realizing people were lying about their gold reserves, so they're like, I don't want to participate in this anymore. So in my mind, I was like, well, if Bitcoin doesn't have that issue, right? It has the ledger, public ledger that everyone can see. So it's kind of like it still has all the properties of gold, except it has that public ledger. So you have that trustless system, and you can verify who has what. But anyway, back to the timeline. So as I started learning more and more, first about Ethereum, a lot of you guys that know me personally, that I became very interested in Neo. Give a lot of credit to my roommate I was living with at the time. He had brought Neo to my attention, and I just became fascinated with the dual token concept that they have, where, you hold the Neo, and then holding Neo generates gas. So obviously at this time too, I was in college learning about stocks and passive income, dividends, all that stuff. So I was like, wow, Neo really created this new dividend system in blockchain, and they did. They're basically the first one to do it. So that's why I was like, Neo is the one. I love this. Plus, it being in China at the time, it was like China's so far ahead of us with blockchain. You want to get your hands in their market. And obviously, with all the manipulation and stuff that they do within the news, that could just be an opinion. But anyway, also throughout that time, I started really trying. Obviously, everyone goes through these phases, I think, where, oh, now I'm going to learn how to day trade, right? The market fluctuates so much, it's got to be easy to make money. And this is kind of a rabbit hole that maybe I shouldn't have went down. I'm starting to, or not starting to, but over time you realize, hey, day trading isn't really necessary at first. It's not necessary at all to make money. If it's something that you just enjoy and you want to study, then you should definitely put the time in to learn how. You have to be really methodical with day trading and just do the same thing every time. You have to have a system, structure, and you cannot be reacting emotionally. And learning all this the hard way, I basically did the opposite of that. Granted, though, I was pretty good with the TA. Just I almost had like a natural instinct for it. So I was pretty successful early on. And throughout this is like one major thing to note throughout the cycle. I made pretty big gains in trading, and I also lost a lot. I had periods of time where I would go from almost down to 50% of what I had in Bitcoin figures just within a couple weeks. I remember still in November of 2017 when this bull run was really starting to kick off to its major peak. I had, in about a 2-day period, I was in a Bitcoin Cash trade, obviously just trying to get more Bitcoin, because I, obviously doing my TA that I thought I knew how to do, which actually worked out for me really well. I was up about 6 Bitcoin in a trade that I had made in 2 days. I was up about 6 Bitcoin, and that's back whenever it was I think 6,000-7,000, right? Yeah, somewhere around there. But yeah, obviously, with price manipulation and everything, I was up all night watching this trade that I was in. I should have cashed out, right? I'm already at 6. Let's get out of there. But I was just like, no, I can just, squeeze the rest out of this, right? Let's see if I can get to, 10, 12. And I basically just watched the floor fall out from this thing. Like, obviously the Bitcoin Cash cronies probably were planning this all along and they just dumped it, right? I was literally watching my trade live, just 6, 5, 4, 3, like the amount of Bitcoin that I had in value there just diminished within seconds. And that kind of just sucked the life out of me. I was just like, wow. I was speechless, like, man, that was... just watch that all evaporate in front of me. And then I realized that that could happen with the rest of my holdings. So, if I wouldn't have been playing around like I was, I would end up making a lot more that year than I did. I still did well. But, yeah, so because of that trade, I was just like, okay, I'm done. I'm getting out. And so what I did was, I didn't get fully out, but I got out enough to just pay off the bulk of my debts that I had, because I didn't want to come out of this entire run with all this success that I had, and in 1 year and just end up with nothing. So I was like, I'll at least wipe out my debt. So I did that, and I left what I had invested, and obviously off the rest of this run, I didn't know that this was coming. I didn't know there was going to be some crazy alt season to follow, or else I obviously wouldn't have paid off my debt at that period of time. But what I had left in, I ended up making about 700%. I made about 700% gains in 2 months in altcoins. So that was just like, man, all this that had disappeared right here a month ago was long gone. I had completely forgot about that. I was on top of the world at this point. But once Bitcoin had this super crash down to like $5,000, yeah, I was like, okay, I think we might be starting some kind of a bear market. So I started watching some TA guys. Back then, a guy that was actually really good at calling stuff. I don't know if you've heard of him, but I'll just reference him anyway. Magic Poop Cannon. He has a stupid name, but he was actually really good with his TA back then. So I was watching him a lot, and he was basically showing how we had a nice head and shoulders going in here, which you can't see on the weekly. But like, hey, this is the peak. If it can't break above here, we're going back down. We're going lower. And I agreed with him, because I had experience, going back to here, I had experienced this one. So I was like, hey, I'm not going to do that again. So at that period of time, I sold everything. I was just like, all right, I think this is it. I'm going to get out. being the trader that I am, right, I have to gamble. So I sold. But back down here, obviously I can't get out because I love this market. I love making money. So right here, I was just like, all right, I think that's the floor. Obviously, still doing some TA, watching some guys. Right back here, I bought back in. And it was actually a great decision. I went all back in. Smart traders would have probably been doing like 10, 20% in. I was always all in or all out. I don't, that's just how I am, I guess. But I made some profit there again. But then once again, I sold everything. I was like, all right, this isn't gonna last. So I got back out. So feeling good off of that one. Things started to level out here again. Doing my TA, I was like, all right, yeah, I'm getting back in. So I bought back in here, and then I basically ended up wiping out everything that I made off of this move, and ending up actually in the negative from where I was at from up here. So obviously felt defeated at that point. I kind of whatever. I was like, okay, I lost one and I lost, so I'm just gonna stay. And obviously I stayed in throughout all of this. It was flat from what, June till November. I was like, man, that's got to be the bottom, right? Everyone's thinking that this thing is trading so sideways and boring. But then the whole Bitcoin Cash saga, or Satoshi's vision, happened. That's what people use as an excuse. I don't believe that that's why it dumped right here. Not at all. Because you can actually see, I don't know, I'd have to show you this on another chart at a different time, but there's correlation to the amount of tether in circulation and the price action, right? And right here, about in October, the amount of tether in circulation had dumped off. It looked almost identical to this, but it happened way before. So I think that, the whales and the tether printers and all these guys were planning this dump all along. And the Satoshi vision was just the market's excuse, right? And you'll see this theme a lot. They'll give the people an excuse, something to justify why the sell-off happened, but it was all planned to begin with, in my personal opinion. But yeah, so just kind of summarizing right here, like I said, overall, I made some decisions trading in the bear market. But one decision overall was wrong, which led me to losing more than I could have even imagined, right? So up and down, up and down. But throughout that, I realized that back and forth trading isn't necessary, and that's not really how you make the money in this market. It's how you can definitely win big fast. But the main way to succeed here is to just make sure that you're educated, you're knowledgeable, and you know what you're looking for in all the other altcoins or anything other than Bitcoin, right? You don't have to think too much about that one. But yeah, when it comes to trying to pick some alts, that's whenever I started throughout this entire bear market. Since the beginning of 2018, I've been heavily getting into YouTube streamers and other resources, just watching, learning, trying to absorb as much knowledge as I can, because basically right now this next run, it's gonna happen. It's gonna be the third time around for me, right? So I'm just thinking, third time's a charm, right? I gotta get this right, so I gotta educate myself. And that's what I know I did wrong throughout this entire time. I did nothing to teach myself about the market. I did nothing to teach myself about accumulation. But I think that's because I also was just like, all right, let's just wait and see if this thing is actually real or it was just some hype scam that I was involved in. But that thought process could have been avoided if I were just learning, right? Back here, I could have been learning about XRP, Ethereum, as I mentioned, and that's really it. If you just learn about those two, you've been fine. I could have been learning about NEO. NEO heading into the bull market this year was 12 cents. It ended up peaking out at $200. So, I mean, you do the math there, right? So, it's all about education, right? What were you doing with your time? During this period of time, did you use your time wisely, or were you just complaining and, fighting on Twitter with people? Who cares about those guys? Just learn, teach yourself, do your own research, or, at least use other people's research to learn. bare minimum. And, hopefully this time around we'll be able to get it right, myself included. Now, obviously I made money. I wasn't perfect, but I love everything that I learned. I loved how I had to fail. That's just how I always am. I have to learn the hard way, but I think in the long run through life, that's going to make me better at everything I do. So yeah, I mean, as I mentioned, right, at this point in time, I just think that really right now we're heading into the next bull run. It's happening. It's going to happen at the end of this year, and who knows, maybe 2021 and 22 will be, or maybe we'll continue on for 4 or 5 years now, because this could be your mass adoption cycle. But right now, you should already know what you want to be holding. Personal opinion, you should already know what you want to be holding. Maybe exploring a few other things that you might be able to allocate a little to. But ultimately, at this point, you should be pretty well allocated to your favorite alts, Bitcoin, whatever it is you believe in. That's where you should be sitting. And now it's just a waiting game. You just need to be patient. Continue to hold and buy when you can, and that's how you're gonna make it in this. It's not easy, but you cannot involve your emotions. You cannot watch the other projects. You can't chase green candles. I guarantee you, if you're doing that, you're going to end up losing out. You're going to sting yourself. And unless you're just, whatever, I don't care, and just jump right back in, you're probably going to force yourself to give up, because it's tough. No one likes losing, right? But the best way to not is to just be patient and dollar cost average and take it slow. But alright, I guess that's it for me today as far as the timeline goes. Let me go back through here, see if there's any points I would make. Yeah, no, I mean, I guess my main point really is just continue to educate yourself. Learn about what all is out there, because this is the creation of a new asset class. Let's not deny it at all. Right now we got fiat money printers being printed into oblivion. This is the perfect market for this stuff. This is exactly why this was created. And also it's going to benefit the world, being able to move money all around the world. So there's a lot of value here. Just making sure to not get stuck in the hype, the, shitty projects that are, people are talking about on YouTube or Twitter that are going to 1000x, and you got to put all your money here. Don't play it safe. If you want to take a shot on some things, hey, do that for sure. Make sure that you do some research there. But I would definitely say to make sure to be looking at a lot of the main top projects. Obviously, this is all for educational purposes, not specific financial advice for any individuals, just education. Wanted to share with you my story, let you know that I have been around here for, basically 7 years up to this point. I know what to look for in this market, and I see it, how it's going to definitely change the world. You see people like Robert Kiyosaki and stuff are getting on board now, saying how this is basically the people's money. Gold and silver are God's money, and fiat is the government's money. So, pick which side you want to be on. But, I think having some crypto.
Thanks for watching, everyone. Wanted to give credit to that video at the beginning. It is Brandon Beavis Investing right here. I will put the link in the description. As always, please like and subscribe, share with your friends and family, and stay tuned for the next one. Thanks. Greatness comes at a price.
Go back this way, boom, here, click and go that way. Boom,
Winning has a price.
Click here and go back this way.
Leadership has a price.
Boom, click and go back this way.
Boom, click here, go this way.
Click and go that way.
You guys think that's easy?
Click here and go back this way.
Man, you have to obsess to be the best.
Boom, here, click and go that way. Boom, that way. Click here and go back this way. Boom, click and go back this way. Boom.